what you know you can't explain. But you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Experience the awakening. Brilliant anonymous researchers. Patriots, join us in the Patriot Army. Trust the plan, pain coming. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. RedStateTalkRadio.com, Brighteon.tv, Rumble.com/MG Show. The end won't be for everyone. That choice to know will be yours. Where we go one, we go all. Fight, 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 and fight we will. We fight every day right here on the MG Show. Hey, welcome to the MG Show on Thursday. Wow, what is it? October 23rd already, Shady Groove?
Wow, October 23rd. I cannot believe that. It was 10 years ago today, Jeff. 10 years ago today, I set out on a journey from North Carolina to Oregon.
Wow. And that was just before, and we're coming up on Q's 8th birthday, Shady Groove.
Yep, it was. The day I landed in Oregon was October the 28th, 2015, and Q started posting literally to the day 2 years later.
Wow.
So pretty much my whole time in Oregon, I've been working on this project that we're all working on here. Welcome today, guys. It's Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being like the only people on planet Earth that are actually following Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump says, Jeff, everybody else out there is trying to tell me that he was the one that he's the perpetrator that had Kirk taken out.
What?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what they're
Happy birthday, Lord Vader. Oh, yeah, we got that. Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, Lord Darth Vader out there. And I think it was Granny. Granny, was it your birthday too? Dutch Granny Q, happy belated.
What?
Wow, we got a lot of, we had helicopters flying all over our houses this morning. That's right. They were looking for you, Mike. That's what they were doing. They were looking for Mike Hess.
I told him he was down there.
I said, look at the car with the stickers, guys.
You can see it from space.
You can find them. And by the way, Mike Hess, let's just show you that. Look at that. Where we go one, we go all. There's the Become Unpsyopable sticker, the flag, and the big MG Show sticker as well. Thank you very much.
From the International Space Station.
Yeah, as seen from that. I was actually taken from there. Yep. Lisa 17 Blair, number 80 likes in the house. 80 likes so far, guys. Let's get some more likes out there, please. If you haven't taken a second to like this stream, please like it.
I like it.
I like it a lot. And it looks like Poussin was number 1 today, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, we've heard that a couple times.
Yeah. I'm number 1. I'm number 1. She's number 1. Always.
We always know she's number 1. She
in
just
our
wants
book,
to tell us.
She's always number 1, Shady. And, I want to just real quick, Shady, remember we said that, President Trump, General Flyn's like, we live if the President Trump administration doesn't do anything about me.
Yes, exactly like that.
President Trump knows and always has known about Arabella Advisor Network. Why? Because Q did, okay?
Exactly.
And they all have foundations and institutes for a reason. Stupid. This was posted by Donald J. Trump. Let's listen to the Glenn Beck talk about exactly what we've been talking about for 4 years almost, Shady. Wow.
This movement is truly against billionaires and the powerful. Why is it funded by billionaires and the powerful? This is not about dismantling power. This is about rearranging power. So according to several sources, including Fox News, George Soros and his Open Society Action Fund granted $3 million to Indivisible. Now, this is one of the primary organizers of...
Who here has heard of Indivisible?
It's not according to Fox News either. Like, they've actually passed the money.
Yeah.
Like, it's on paper. It's not like according to Fox News or because this person. They, to some degree, they say this stuff to like undermine the story. It's not like alleged. It's not per Fox News. It's on the paper.
It's true.
It's true. It's a fact. You can see it.
How about per Matrix and Shady?
Yeah, but per the evidence.
Per Q post, but the people that were infiltrating Q couldn't figure it out, and they never stood behind me on this QD code about they all have foundations and institutes for a reason. Stupid.
They went because the reason is because their hero has the 501c4s.
Yep.
They're not going to tell you all of the money that what's his name, Warren Buffett put into this whole situation. Everybody wants to talk about Soros, but who is Warren Buffett's little minion?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Patrick Byrne, inshallah.
Okay. Yeah. So, what I wanted to do too is I was supposed to go on Gillian Anderson's show, but, to talk about Arabella, almost a year ago, Shady, but they must have gotten to her because I was not on the show. Gillian Michaels. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Wow. All right. So let's go back to this because we've known for 4 years.
The No Kings protest. Soros's larger network, the Open Society Foundation, gave over $7.6 million to the same operation. We're almost at $11 million, but Soros is not alone. If you follow the funding trail, it leads to, what a surprise, the Arabella Network.
But he can't say Hans-Jörg Wyss. You notice that?
Now you add in the Bill Gates Foundation, or the Ford Foundation, or here's my favorite, the Rockefeller Network. There is now this organization funded by billionaires, Riots, Inc., and it is the permanent protest industrial complex. These tactics were developed by the CIA, and they're called color revolutions. And what they do is they flood the streets with, quote, organic protesters. They control the media narrative. They destabilize the existing system, and then they overthrow that system and install a new one. It is part of a longer game. Once you convince free people that freedom itself is the problem, they'll beg for a change. And that's when the kings, the real kings, step out from behind the curtain. When there's an emergency for your own good, you have to remain inside. You're not an essential worker. You can only shop at Home Depot. That's the sign of a king. Kings, they don't have to wear crowns. Usually kings just sign checks. Sometimes they fund revolutions. They are the ones writing the script for the resistance, for their own power and kingdoms.
Oh, you mean like the playbook known? Wow.
Yeah, like the playbook known. Like the playbook has been known, and understanding all of these different connections. And this is not just about the modern world. This goes back to the reason that the modern world is dysfunctional is because the people were implementing these tactics. We're going to talk about the Council for Foreign Relations today, also connected, also part of this Arabella Network, all of these foundations and institutes for a reason. The reason is so that they can sync up on messaging. You understand that? The reason is so that they all say the same things and no one can find any room to disagree with them because the voices are so loud. There's one person on planet Earth that had a voice loud enough to disagree with them. That was Donald Trump. No other person has had a voice loud enough to disagree with them. No one would listen to anyone, but he spent 13 years developing a television program where he taught people that he understood how to run a business and that he could actually fire people that were incompetent because he could recognize incompetence. The Council on Foreign Relations, Arabella Network, CFR, all these people, that's the last thing they wanted you to learn. That's the last example they wanted you to see.
That's right. And we've got Peter Navarro, Shady.
Yes.
Going to the CFR, basically declaring war.
Yes. He told them straight to their faces that tariffs are the future.
Yeah. And that's national security. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, George Soros. Okay. That's almost a Q-proof in and of itself as well. So we're going to watch this. It's you missed it. This is needed to be seen. It is Peter Navarro on the Council on Foreign Relations, and they even posted this, Shady, which is
yes.
Wow.
And
remember, let me just finish real quick, and then I'll go over to you. But remember, Shady, the Arabella, the PaySur research, the CFR, they're the ones that are basically you said it best today, the board of directors for the PaySur companies. Okay,
correct.
And that's what I wanted you to make sure that you said, because that was perfectly said. Because in the 50s, they bought 12 newspapers to control the conversation of America. That's your start of the color revolution.
That's exactly right. Because in that video that you just played, that Glenn Beck was talking about, that is what General Flynn and General McChrystal's expertise is. People in Fort Bragg. Why do we target Fort Bragg and talk about Fort Bragg and all of the stuff that's going on there? Because the psychological operations, the civil division of the psychological operations stem from there. And what are they doing? They're think tanks. They're controlling all the think tanks. Where do the think tanks get control from? From the CFR. Who is the CFR? The CFR, like you said, are the board of directors for the Federal Reserve. In other words, they are going to constantly advocate for the destruction of America, for the Marxist perspective, for the globalist agenda, the climate change on steroids. That's what these people are doing, and that's what they've been doing. Their biggest hurdle to overcome is the perception of the American mind. They've got to erase the idea that you are an individual, and they got to get you to connect to something that you are unified with. So therefore, they can put you in a group, and then therefore they can smear your group and make your voice unrecognizable or unheard within the voices of the country. This is an amazing takedown by Peter Navarro.
It is. So Q157, who controls the MSM? Who really controls the MSM? Why are we made to believe the MSM is the only credible news sources? Q199, why does the MSM push conspiracy without investigation? Who controls the MSM? Q627, CFR, what a coincidence. Bloodline. And I'm going to play a little bit of this just for context.
The year is 1917, and Representative Oscar Callaway enters a disturbing statement into the U.S. congressional record. The statement reveals why J.P. Morgan interests hired 12 high-ranking news managers. The 12 were asked to determine the most influential newspapers in America. They were to figure out how many news organizations it would take to control generally the policy of the daily press of the United States. The 12 found it was only necessary to purchase the control of 25 of the greatest papers. An agreement was reached. The policy of the papers was bought, and an editor was placed at each paper to ensure that all published information was in keeping with the new policy. Soon, that policy would be defined by a front group formed by J.P. Morgan and his colleagues. In fact, Morgan's personal attorney was founding president of the organization, the Council on Foreign Relations. Today, the CFR maintains that its goal is to increase America's understanding of the world.
So, Shady, I can't hear you when you speak. What did you say?
He said personal attorney, J.P. Morgan's personal attorney. And I think they could hear me. So, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. I just can't. I just want to make sure I understood what you said. Okay, here we go.
However, the actual objective of this highly exclusive club is revealed by the rare admissions of the insiders themselves. In the early 60s, a Georgetown University professor collects information for a book favorable to the network of powerful men who founded the CFR. For 2 years, Professor Carroll Quigley is allowed to examine the confidential papers and secret records of this network. Quigley reveals that these men aim to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. In short, they seek total and quiet control of the entire world.
Boom. Boom. Now, with that context, and I've got that Carroll Quigley book too, by the way, Shady. Mm-hmm. And isn't it interesting that Obama praised Dr. Carol Quigley in his first election, which is very interesting. But now you're going to see that they wanted financial control over the entire world. Now comes the Trump administration. Now comes Peter Navarro, Shady.
Now comes the moment of truth for people to realize this is how we rearrange, reorganize, and reprioritize the direction of our country. Think of it like railroad tracks. We have been on the wrong one. Now we're on the right one, headed in the right direction. So that now that we know that we're on the right track, headed in the right direction, you know what we can do? We can ramp up the steam. We can toss in some more coal. We know that the coast is clear and we know that it's wide open ahead. We have thrown them out effectively. What you're talking about is the moment in time, 1917, Trading with the Enemy Act. Trump points to it all the time. 4 years after the Federal Reserve, the CFR comes into place. They become the board of directors of globalism, and America starts to deteriorate. The American people start to have less. The dollar starts to become less valuable, and World War II is just on the horizon.
And here we go. Check it out. Conversation with Peter Navarro at the Council on Foreign Relations.
17, if you love
Trump
tariffs.
Making trade great again and making it a front burner issue. Because in addition to the room here, we've got about 400 people, 400 members or so online as well. You know, one of the main functions of the council is to give our members an opportunity to engage with and ask questions directly of some of the most influential policymakers and leaders in the world. And we seek to host speakers with a wide range of perspectives accordingly. This is one of the few places in the country where you can have a meeting with the Iranian foreign minister on Monday and the son of the Shah of Iran on Friday, which is exactly what happened here a few weeks ago. And in that regard, I'm very pleased that the council is continuing its long-standing tradition of nonpartisanship by hosting administration officials from both parties for an open, candid, and respectful dialogue. Needless to say, I can't think of a more important time to hear directly from President Trump's senior counselor for trade and manufacturing, Dr. Peter Navarro. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Peter is the chief architect of the Trump administration's trade and tariff strategy. He serves as director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy during the first Trump administration. He's a professor emeritus at UC Irvine, where he taught for over 20 years. And our presider today is Anna Swanson, who covers trade and international economics for the New York Times. We're first going to have Dr. Navarro come up and give some remarks, and then Anna will join him up here for a dialogue, and then we'll open it up to questions from members in the room and some online as well. Thank you for joining us, and let me welcome Dr. Peter Navarro.
All right. Now, before Peter Navarro gets in, let me just accept and start this one real quick. This is important, guys. It is, let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here, and the latest move cements that in reality in the biggest ways, guys. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cash back on your spends. To launch America's first cryptocurrency, CRO treasury, well, when it's done, in the new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. You want in on the action? Head on over to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO, and let's make crypto great again. Back to Peter Navarro.
I'd like to thank the Council on Foreign Relations for this kind invitation. After all, it's not every day I get to speak before an audience that has opposed nearly every policy I've ever helped advance in the White House. But let's be honest with each other. CFR has been uniformly anti-tariff and anti-Trump, and highly skeptical of an America First foreign policy that in truth is restoring our trade balance, rebuilding our industrial base, strengthening alliances like NATO, keeping, and as we just saw in the Middle East, negotiating the broader peace, and reasserting American sovereignty on the world stage. So let's ask ourselves the obvious question: how did the gulf between the Council on Foreign Relations and Trump world grow so wide. If you ask an AI search engine, try this, I did, it will tell you that the Council on Foreign Relations embodies an establishment, technocratic, and globalist ideology, one comfortably wedded with Wall Street and the multinational corporations that love open borders, cheap offshore labor, and an endless stream of subsidized imported goods. By contrast, the Trump administration since 2017 has stood squarely with the people who make and grow things in this country, our farmers and ranchers, our manufacturers and workers. What many in this audience dismiss as populism or nationalism simply means doing what's best for Americans first, protecting our jobs, communities, and the industrial base that anchors our national strength. History is indeed a harsh mistress here. Exhibit A, Council on Foreign Relations members helped negotiate NAFTA, which hollowed out the U.S. manufacturing base and triggered one of the largest illegal mass migrations in modern history. CFR analysts championed China's 2001 entry into the World Trade Organization, the single worst trade deal in American history. Then came the Trans-Pacific Partnership, forgive me here, Mike. CFR sold it as a geopolitical rampart against a rising China, yet the TPP would have surrendered much of America's manufacturing base, including our crucial auto parts sectors, to Japan, Vietnam, and ironically, ultimately, China itself. President Trump saw this very clearly and tore up the TPP on day one. I was standing right behind him on that beautiful day. This is what the Council on Foreign Relations has never understood. Weakening our industrial base has never strengthened our strategic position. It has only invited aggression. That's why in Trump world, we do not trade off economic security for national security. We believe economic security is national security. Memo to CFR, you cannot project power if you surrendered production. You cannot deter aggression when your supply chains run through your opponent's ports. You can't lead the free world if you can't make what the free world needs. Here's the second big problem with the Council's free trade dogma: the belief that the World Trade Organization somehow delivers fair trade as well. By its own rules, it does not. The WTO's most favored nation, MFN rule, says you must treat all partners the same. But what it doesn't say is that everyone must charge the same tariff. So what happens? Virtually every country in the world charges America far higher tariffs than we charge them. Germany, for example, charges us 10% on autos. We charge them 2.5%. The result, Bavaria sells us 7 cars for every one Detroit sends to Germany. That's the tilted playing field that the Council on Foreign Relations has defended, and the one President Trump has begun to level with his policy of reciprocal tariffs. Of course, the moment President Trump uses the T word, CFR waves the bloody shirt of what? You know what I'm about to say: inflation and recession. But the record tells a very different story. Under President Trump's first term, inflation stayed low, growth was strong, and the American manufacturing base saw its first real revival in decades. Far from tariff chaos, Trump world had price stability and the strongest job market in modern history. Let's be clear. The inflation we're living with today did not come from tariffs. It came from Joe Biden's reckless fiscal expansion, his neglect of our supply chains, and a hopelessly politicized Federal Reserve that accommodated the Biden bonfire. That's why we in Trump will now hold the credibility high ground on tariffs. Exhibit B, during the Trump first term, and you all remember this, CFR's predictions of economic calamity widely missed the mark. The inflation and recession that you all forecast never came. The alliances you said would disintegrate have endured. Those wars you predicted for 4 peaceful years during the Trump first term. China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia kept their powder dry. Now, in his second term, President Donald John Trump is once again performing beautifully. And it's long past time for the Council on Foreign Relations to catch up with a world it refuses to understand. In closing, I come to you today not to quarrel, just to simply challenge respectfully the assumptions that still dominate this room. The world has changed. The American people have changed. The age of blind globalization is over. If the Council on Foreign Relations wants to be relevant, it must stop mistaking nationalism for isolationism, sovereignty for retreat, and strength for aggression. For ultimately, MAGA and the America First movement isn't about pulling back. It's about standing tall. It's about defending what we make, who we are, and the nation we love. Thank you for your time. I look forward to your questions, and Anna Swanson of the conservative New York Times is going to grill me here.
All right, so Shady, let's real quick. Wow.
Yes, that is tremendous. Wow.
This is going right in the face of the globalists.
Completely. I mean, in a way that is what would be considered the opposite direction of the way that they've been going for 100 years.
Protecting the bloodline.
Protecting their assets. Their assets are all these companies. We've been explaining to you who these companies are and how they operate and function. That's the reason that our research is different than everybody else's. I believe that the way that we characterize this and explain these things is the reason for our censorship by the right and the left in America. Effectively, what Navarro is saying there, guys, think about what he said. What he said is so crucial. He said economic security is national security.
Boom.
Why is he making that distinction? Because during the Patriot Act and after 9/11, they obliterated that. They basically said that economic security doesn't matter. What we need is national security. Lock everything down. Don't allow business to flourish or function because of national security. Well, that upended our economic security, didn't it?
Yeah.
You guys have seen that happen over the last, and then at the end point where he says nationalism isn't isolationism. There's a reason he's saying that also, because he's trying to break the PSYOP. The PSYOP is that if you're a nationalist or have national pride, you're somehow like Hitler.
Yeah.
Right? Why did they create Hitler as a nationalist Nazi, national Zionist Nazi? What are you talking about here? What are we associating with? They're trying to associate what Hitler did with you if you are America first.
Yeah.
That's the PSYOP. And I think Peter Navarro did a great job standing there and explaining to them that you have been wrong. And he kind of goes on to explain to this lady how wrong they've been.
And I'd like to also separate us from the Promethean action, because this is not just the British Empire. This is the foreign and domestic billionaires headed by the pay-sewer and, protecting the pay-sewer assets, guys. That is not just the British Empire.
And I would take that a step further. That's exactly correct. The British Empire, quote unquote, Britain, the Tavistock, that being the center of that is the PSYOP. The center of it is French royalty.
Boom.
The center of it is French royalty, not the British Empire. Even you're going to love this one. Even at the center of the British Empire was French royalty. Okay. And at the center of French royalty are control of the Vatican. It's control of the Italian mafia. It's control of the cartel. It's control of all of these different things that are marauding over you. But it's the Jews.
It's the British Empire only, Shady. So most people don't realize that Daniel Pessoa owned the city of London.
They don't understand. They don't understand.
You guys do not. Promethean action, God bless you. You're good. But you're not telling everybody the whole story.
It's economics, guys. Economics is at the center of the conversation. It is not about the British Empire. It is about the globalist economy and the way that they're trying to, just like Peter Navarro said, the whole game has been to undermine us. Mm-hmm. We are playing a rigged game. Doesn't matter who. That's why it's 2.5% tariffs to Germany and 10% on us. It's a rigged game. What Donald Trump is doing, very simply, take everything else out. British Empire. Blah, blah, blah. What he is doing is he's leveling the playing field and making it where we all play on the same ground, knowing that if we compete on a level playing field, we will crush our competition without even thinking about it.
All right. And let's see what the conservative New York Times lady has to say. You ready?
This is actually pretty good, because what you're going to notice is just pay attention of how the New York Times. As a matter of fact, let me just say this real quick. In the New York Times, before this era that we were just talking about in the 1950s, we used the New York Times for a lot of our Pessoa research, going back to the early 1900s, before the Federal Reserve. They were talking about the Pessoa family. They understood this stuff about all of the companies that they're controlling. They even understood that they were putting the companies in a trust and somehow manipulating the American economy. But now you see this lady, you will see her do nothing but advocate for China. Just pay attention to the way that her questions advocate for China.
And I want to make one more statement. Q knew about Pessoa. That means Trump knows about Pessoa. Do you know about it?
Just like he knows Arabella.
Imagine that. Here we go.
All have foundations for a reason. And even call it stupid.
All right, great. Well, that was quite an opening. Welcome to today's Council on Foreign Relations meeting on U.S. trade and manufacturing with Peter Navarro. My name is Anna Swanson. I'm the trade reporter at the New York Times, and I'm really delighted to have been invited to do this, both by the Council on Foreign Relations and to have this opportunity to speak with you right now, Dr. Navarro, about at a very pivotal moment for trade.
And I should say here, I'm glad that Ms. Swanson's doing this, despite the liberal direction of her paper. I think she's done some of the finest reporting on the China trade issue, particularly on a topic which I'll be saying a lot more of soon on this transshipping, but happy to be with you and
thank you, Peter.
See what you got.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, there's a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. So I thought I would start with the world stage, which your remarks touched on. So, you have said previously that with the exception of China, no other country
clearly we'll see is a significant strength.
All right, Yeti, they're saying the sound, he fixed it. Okay, we'll just wait a second.
How long was it muted?
Strengthening of our alliances.
We need to back it up
around the world. It is remarkable that there was no retaliation against the United States.
They didn't hear her question.
Intensely with other partners. We hear that the Japanese, the Europeans, the Canadians are all taking measures to either be more self-sufficient or to trade more intensely with other partners. Does the United States stand to lose something in the longer run from taking this more aggressive posture toward the world?
No, I think what we clearly will see is a significant strengthening of our alliances around the world. It is remarkable that there was no retaliation against the United States by almost all countries, but I think that it was the fruit of the first term. We have continued to make the argument, as I did today, that the World Trade Organization set of rules are fundamentally skewed against the United States, the MFN rules. And we have said for years now that we face higher tariffs significantly and higher non-tariff barriers that we won't tolerate that. And then if we are able to restructure that imbalance, it will be good eventually for everybody. And I think countries have acknowledged that, yes, it's not been fair to the United States. And so we've been able to fundamentally restructure the entire international trade system through the leadership of President Trump in a way which this council never envisioned, in a way I don't think anybody in the press envisions, but it's happening literally. History is being made every day before your eyes, and it's because of the president basically saying the emperor had no clothes out there in free trade land, that we were getting cheated and he wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. So we think our alliances are strengthening, and candor among world leaders has been never higher.
It's a very tense moment right now with relations with China in particular. We've seen this.
I don't see them any more tense than they've been. I mean, we went through, I'm burdened by the institutional memory. I was one of only 3 people in the senior White House ranks in the first term who was there for the whole time. And before that, during the campaign. So, I mean, what's going on now is very similar to the interplay we had in the first term. I mean, Bob Lighthizer and I took a year and a half negotiating with the Chinese, and there was like tariffs back and forth and conversations with the presidents and things like that. So, I mean, I don't see this as anything out of the norm.
Well, tariffs back and forth, but right now there is a threat of an additional 100% tariff on China, right? China is, looking at export controls on rare earth minerals.
But we had similar tariff interplay in the first term, and it all sort of worked out. I mean, we got the
And by the way, just 3 days later, we inked a minerals deal with Australia undercutting China, guys. Okay, I mean this. Go.
Yeah. It's interesting because she's mentioning rare earths, and what China is doing is that whenever we acquire rare earths, then they're flooding the market and making it impossible for us to be able to afford to mine it or to help another country mine it. So that's the way that they've been manipulating the market, and he kind of speaks to that a little bit more here.
The 2020, what was called the skinny deal, and the only problem with that is we left office and the Chinese didn't abide by it. But look, as the boss likes to say, let's see what happens. The presidents are going to meet the end of the month, and I think they understand the landscape well.
What is
we'll
the
see what
president
happens.
hoping to get out of that meeting?
You have to put the president in his seat for ask that. I mean, what we want in this country, and I think what everybody in this audience should want, unless you got a lot of shares in a multinational company operating in China, is simply a situation where fair trade is the rule, where our workers and our manufacturers, our farmers and our ranchers can compete fairly in a way which preserves our manufacturing base and our agricultural strength. What we're learning, Anna, and the Chinese keep teaching us this lesson, and this is something I worked on very hard in the first term, is that there's gaps in our supply chain because of decades of offshoring to China and other foreign lands that threaten our resilience. And we saw that. I mean, one of the things the pandemic taught us was that we don't have resilient supply chains in times of global crisis. So we're going about the business of fixing that as what I call in Trump time, which is to say as fast as possible without screwing it up. But this is something that we need to embrace as a nation. And it's something that's you don't read about in the free trade books. Ricardo never talked about rare earth magnets.
I do want to ask more about that approach, but just quickly, do you think that the additional 100% tariffs would go into effect on China, though? Wouldn't that be pretty economic?
I'm going to leave that up to the boss and Scotty Besant with
I am so worried about China. Are you gonna go ahead and make China pay tariffs?
You're hearing it, right? Like it's every single question that she asks. It's so
China, you go to 115% of China.
She has yet to ask one thing that had any relevance to you as an American.
That's right. And why do these liberal women all have a look? I'm just saying. It's weird.
Yeah, like the look like you wouldn't date them.
You'll go back to China.
Jameson Greer at his left shoulder, and back in the homeland, Howard and I provide them all analytical support we can. Let's just see what happens. I mean, if we learn anything from the first term, it's that these are difficult negotiations, and you just got to trust in Trump.
Do you think the president would be open to an offer of Chinese investment?
Again. I mean, there's so much we can talk about here.
But what about China? Because we not worried about America.
Is there a Winnie the Pooh bear sitting behind her?
Oh my God! We need Rican memes to go ahead and like bring poop on her.
Exactly, man. Good Lord.
A poop dump. Oh, China.
China. That's arguably of even greater import, because if you think about what we've done, and again, there's I would say I was pretty strong in my remarks with respect to the council here, but let me just double down on that a little bit. I mean, did you ever envision in your wildest dreams, and was Mike ever sitting in his office and thinking that we could go to any given country and take 7 verticals, tariffs, non-tariff barriers, digital currency, national security issues, and sit down and say, hey, look, we're doing this differently, and you're going to do it in a way which is fair to us. And so we can go to Europe. We've done a deal with them. We go to Japan. We've done a deal with them. We can go to Korea. And not only are they lowering their trade barriers, tariffs and non-tariff barriers, they're sending us a boatload of money so we can invest in things that protect our economy and our national security, even as we help increase our ability to defend them. So, I mean, nobody in this room, nobody out there in Zoom land ever thought that was possible. But if you think about it, that's exactly what we should have been doing for the last 30 years.
Yes, but what about China?
So what about China?
You talked in your opening remarks about boosting production, but if you look at the data right now, the U.S. is losing manufacturing jobs. Spending on factory construction is down significantly from last year, and manufacturing is still shrinking as a share of the economy. S&P Global also had an estimate recently that tariffs would cost businesses upwards of $1.2 trillion in 2025. So, of course, there are some businesses that tariffs really do help. But, others say that tariffs are making it harder for them to manufacture in the United States because of the higher cost of inputs, of steel in particular. Tariffs may be helping some companies, but are they backfiring for others?
Yeah, let's sort that into a couple of buckets here. It's what
buckets of poop.
What are the impacts of tariffs? So if you think about that, again, as I said in my opening remarks, we have a credibility high ground here, okay? We just do. I mean, one of the fun things, my trusty assistant there, Adam Milan, okay, sitting right at the table there, one of his first assignments I gave him, I said, go out and look at the remarks of every single TV anchor, every single print reporter, every single think tank person, and tell me what they said about tariffs with respect to inflation and recession. What was their predictions? And so whenever I have to go on TV or go into an audience like this, I can quote exactly what they said and how so very wrong they were. Okay? I mean, Anna, just go back during the first term and look at all of those studies that you're citing now. Like, what did they say the first term? They all predicted inflation. I had 2, I'm quite honored by this, actually. the highest honor to be named in the headline of the lead editorial twice by the Wall Street Journal, not the Main Street Journal, the Wall Street Journal, the Navarro recession. Okay? None of it ever happened because the economics are wrong. Okay? Let's just take the tariff thing. Let's do the economics. We're serious academicians here. Right? It's like, who can bear the burden of a tariff as opposed to a tax? With a tax, it's consumers or businesses. With a tariff, it's consumers, domestic businesses, or the country that's being tariffed, right? Now, if the country that's being tariffed has to be in our market or their economy is effectively going to collapse, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to eat the tariff. And that's why, Anna, we didn't observe all these alleged impacts. We didn't see, steel and aluminum did great during the first term. We didn't see any negative from that. So, I mean, if this were the first term, I'd have a hard time answering that question. It's easy now. It's like they were all wrong then, they're all wrong now.
Well, there was an estimate by Goldman Sachs, I think earlier this week.
Who?
By Goldman Sachs.
Oh, come on. You're killing me. You're killing me, Larry. You know that commercial?
Already.
These people, come on, they have no credibility. I'm sorry. These people have no credibility.
Well,
Goldman Sachs, look, let's look at the business model. What's the business model? The business model is to get a bunch of investment that goes over to China. They've been doing that for 40 years. If this is the first term, like I could be sitting here with Gary Cohn, who I had to fight with every day in the friggin' White House till he left with his tail between his legs, saying the same stuff. It's not true.
Well, setting that aside, so are you seeing the effects in manufacturing?
Setting that aside, no. I don't want to set it aside.
Set this truth aside so I can make something up.
Yeah, set our truth aside so I can make sure we get China what they need. Thank you, Yeti.
Manufacturing from tariffs that you want to see.
Now, this is the other key thing you said, because you said this was really important. So let's go back to what the question you asked. Mm-hmm. It was like you noted that there was manufacturing jobs going down instead of up, this and anything. Right. But let's think about this. You can't have the manufacturing jobs until what? Until the plants get built. We got $19 trillion. Let me say that one more time. $19 trillion of investment promised to come into this country. Now, construction is going to boom in the short run, but we're not going to see the manufacturing jobs until that capacity gets built. So it'll be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. But what we're doing is setting the stage for the construction of a beautiful addition to our manufacturing base. And by the way, this is how smart, not me, but we are as an administration. It's like when we're cutting these trade deals and Japan's offering to invest here in America, that money, you know how we're going to use that money? That money is specifically targeted at vulnerabilities in our supply chain. Think about that. That's exactly what we need to be doing. So foreigners are going to be paying to fix the vulnerabilities in our domestic supply chain as part of a broader trade deal, which levels the playing field for American workers and businesses. That's a good deal.
Do tariffs raise the cost of manufacturing here, though, which could make it harder for businesses to export?
We don't see it, Anna. We just don't see it. And let's suppose it did a little bit. Okay, do you know what the cost is when you don't have a resilient supply chain? Do you know what the cost to our economy is when we can't produce what we need to produce because our supply chains didn't deliver what we needed to? In terms of sheer lives in the pandemic, it was millions of people that we could potentially lose. But we fixed stuff. I give you a story from the pandemic, which is relevant to the whole rare earth question, because the question is, how quickly can we fix that vulnerability? Okay, so if you go back during the pandemic, is anybody in this room had to go through a ventilator? Anybody, or had a family member got Yeah, here we go. Okay. They saved their life or? Yeah. Those things are, they're risking in themselves. But I remember early in the pandemic, the administration was very, very heavily criticized for not having enough ventilators, like we were somehow asleep at the wheel. And what we did was identify a small company that had a really, really good technology, but the inability to scale quickly. And what we did, and I was the point on this, I was the Defense Production Act Policy Coordinator, was demarche General Motors to bring its scale abilities, work with that company. And does anybody remember how many days it took us for GM to produce a ventilator? Anybody? So nobody read my first book on this. Shame on you. 17 days. 17 days we were able to get ventilators. And no American went without a ventilator. It was truly one of the miracles of the pandemic. And my point here, Anna, is that no one around the world should underestimate the ability for the Americans' manufacturing and technology base to quickly mobilize. And this is the kind of thing that we're going about our business doing because we have a number of vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm. There's been an interesting development, too, in the administration taking stakes in companies, including the rare earth industry, but also U.S. Steel, Intel, talking about taking more. How are you deciding which companies to take equity in and which not to? What are your next targets there?
Well, that's not my lane. I stay in my lane. The one thing I think that might be interesting for you folks to think about, because to the extent that you're free market capitalists and might be offended by the government taking equity positions in companies, I can assure you that this would not be happening if not for the fact that the companies we were taking stakes in were showered with free taxpayer money, even though they were billions and billions of dollars or trillion-dollar companies. We just gave them a bunch of money. And so the thought process here is simply that we should take some of that back and get effectively some skin in that game. And I mean, for anybody to argue with that, I think is silly. I mean, what you should have been is outraged that we were giving that money away as grants for free, rather than having some other kind of structure. But as far as the future on that, I'm going to let Howard and the boss handle that.
Do you have any thoughts, though, on what could the government do as a stakeholder that private companies could not, or how far do you think the government should go? Like, for example, is it worth this if it ends up being a net loss to the taxpayer? Should the government? It's
really not my lane. I mean, the one thing I'll say, just from an economist's point of view, again, channeling my pandemic experience, is like when you're facing supply chain vulnerabilities that in the event of a failure can cost your economy trillions of dollars, you should be less worried about losing a few billion and more worried about fixing the problem.
Boom. And we'll be right back after these beautiful boom messages. Maybe.
Hello, hello to all of you beautiful patriots out there.
First of all, let me just thank you all for supporting this show. We wouldn't be here without you. But I have a huge announcement regarding donations.
It has come to our attention that using the Rumble app is taking an additional 30% of your donation to the show.
Let me explain. According to our TOS, Rumble takes 20% of all donations made through the web browser.
And that's a 20%. It's a good deal if you consider other platforms like YouTube and such.
There is a hidden cost that we just found out. For example, we received the generous $500 donation from Spill Tea, and thank you so much for that, from the Rumble app on Apple. So Rumble took 20% and Apple took an additional 30%. We brought that to Rumble and they said, well, Rumble's take of tips and donations is 20%. That's if the transaction is done through the web browser. If using the Android or iOS app, it's an additional 30% collected by those platforms.
So please use the web browser to make your donations to the show and avoid the hidden fees by Apple and Android.
That's right. You can also support us at GiveSendGo/HelpMGShow, mg.show/donate. We have PayPal and Cash App. Both are at RealMGShow or $RealMGShow. Please help us out. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello to all of you beautiful.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
To mypillow.com or call 800-873-0478 and use promo code MGSHOW. Use your promo code for the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Be upsetting. It can also be wonderful. That the real world is much different than the one you knew, and that the burden of the voice that speaks to you from within As a result of that, it's like the thunder and lightning of God. I know the feeling well. And if you're paying attention to it, it's your first vision of God, because visions of God only come with the truth. When you see the truth, you are dealing with God. It's a vision absolutely necessary to all of our future progress if we're going to make any. Without this divine law, there could be no harmony of the soul. And as seekers after oneness with God, we must discover and apply to our own life the laws of His being. You see, it's easier to yield up something once and for all than maintain a daily conflict with ourselves and forcing upon ourselves obedience in thought, word, and deed to the divine law. The conflict is within you. It always has been. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, a steep ascent, always rugged, mostly lonely, often very dangerous, and at times so very, very difficult as to seem beyond our ability, yet it is the only way. This nation hinges upon the success of those who are climbing.
Welcome back to the MG Show. Welcome back. Welcome back. Wow. Love that song as well. Shady, welcome back.
Man, thank you so much for everybody out there. Thank you so much. It's not easy. It's not easy to pay attention, and it's not easy to understand what's going on. We are intentionally being misled. There's a huge movement within the quote unquote MAGA people that used to be MAGA now all of a sudden have turned on Donald Trump. There's a massive movement to undermine him. There's a massive movement to undermine his credibility. And there's a massive movement to interfere with the restructuring of the economy that Mr. Navarro was talking about in the first hour. It's so very important. I want to read this to you. This is a fresh post from Mike Johnson just now explaining Democrats are working overtime to hide the truth. Here it is. 5 Senate Democrats could vote today to reopen the government. All they need is 5 more. They've already had the 3 or 4 that have been doing it. Instead, they're pushing a crazy counter proposal that puts the American people last. Free health care for illegal aliens, billions for foreign projects, and their handouts to the leftist media outlets. The shutdown is a leverage game for them to look tough to their Marxist base. And the American people won't forget being used by them. So look at that. He's calling it directly out. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is what Peter Navarro is talking about, the Marxist agenda. Note the New York Times person who completely touted the communist Chinese talking points. This is all about communism. You're getting ready to elect a communist to your mayor in New York City. It's all about communism, and the Democrats are placating to the communist base. We've shown you Rise and Resist. We've shown you that the Communist Party is behind the funding. We're showing you where the money that funds the Communist Party is coming from. It's coming from Soros, Omidar, and Hans-Jörg Wyss. That's where the money is coming from. Where are they getting it from? They're taking it out of the coffers that was foreign aid for decades and decades and decades. That's the cycle of destruction that we've been witnessing. And Jeff, I mean, I see it, like that's the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is recognizing that this is a Marxist movement. The Marxist movement was embedded in your CIA, hashtag Brennan. The Marxist movement was embedded in your FBI, hashtag Comey. Do you think that the Marxist movement was part of the January 6th riot? Hashtag yes.
Oh, we're hashtagging. Hashtag yes. Pound me too.
I don't mean that one.
No. Pound me too, Shady Groove.
That's a very ironic statement, sir.
Hashtag me too. Should we go listen to some more of this, Shady Groove? I mean,
it's kind of. We heard from there. He goes into the CFR guy, comes up and asks him a dumb question. He's got like 3 or 4 other people that come out and ask him some dumb questions. I think that we could kind of be like move past that. The important part of that is that they're painting the leverage. The leverage that we have as America is our tariff, and they're painting the only leverage that we have as being a bully, as opposed to it actually being a sound economic policy.
Now we've got Caroline Levitt coming on soon. We've got. She was not on the schedule today. I did not see this on the schedule. She will be here. We will have it right here on the MG show. And in the meantime, Shady Grove, so don't worry. We got you covered, guys, because we do news. We do it live. we cover everything. We try to anyways, right?
We misprioritize very rarely.
Whew. Crazy, isn't it? It's hard to keep up, guys. It's like breakneck speed. It's like speed. It's crazy, Shady.
Well, no, during the Biden administration, we're like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? And now it's like, oh my God, how can we possibly not talk about that?
I know. I mean, we still haven't done the interview with Maria Bartiromo, but now it's like 4 days old. It's like not even news anymore. I know. Breakneck. All right, so let's look at this meeting with the Secretary General from NATO, Shady. This was an emergency meeting. And listen to this guy, brown nose, your president, Donald J. Trump. And if Caroline Levitt comes in, leave it.
Wait, if Caroline Levitt comes in, we'll leave it and go there?
Exactly.
Wow,
you're on point with that one.
I'll tell you what, but I took my beef liver today.
Tell you what. All right, here we go. We'll be going shortly. Here we go. There we go.
Well, thank you very much.
And the bong is back.
I have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. We've become friends, actually, through the trials and tribulations of everything. And Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, highly respected. Almost every country in Europe. I think you can almost take away the almost pretty soon. But they all have great respect for the leader, and he is the leader. And we've had some very good discussions today, and things are going along pretty well as regarding Ukraine, Russia. We thought it would be a little bit easier. That's turned out to be tougher than the Middle East. The Middle East was supposed to be the tough one, and we've solved that puzzle, but this one will get solved also. So I want to just say it's an honor to have you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for hosting again. And we were texting, I think it was on the day when you were in Israel and in Egypt, this tremendous success you had under your leadership, bringing peace to the Middle East. And then we texted each other and said, and the next big thing has to be Ukraine, Russia. And I want to help, NATO wants to help, my colleagues want to help to basically deliver on your vision of peace in Ukraine. And I really want to thank you for everything you're doing, including breaking the deadlock with Putin, starting the dialogue in February when you came in as president in January, but also for everything you did with NATO, the fact that we are now at this 5%, the huge success in The Hague at the NATO summit, the fact that Europeans are...
I just wanted to say that I just wanted to compliment the gentleman on how much better he did in approaching Donald Trump than Zelensky did on his first attempt.
Also stepping up when it comes to Ukraine, basically the weapons from the US being delivered to Ukraine, paid for by allies, and the Europeans coming together to discuss how can we sustain Ukraine post the peace deal. All of this is evidence of your leadership of pushing the Europeans and the Canadians to do more, to deliver, and to equalize in spending with the US. So on all of this, and today we will talk more on how we can really bring Ukraine to the next phase and get this terrible war, and all the bloodshed ended.
And as you know, we are going to be making a big trip next week. Some of you are going with us. We'll be going to Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan. In South Korea, I'll be meeting with President Xi of China. We'll have a pretty long meeting scheduled. We can work out a lot of our questions and our doubts and our tremendous assets together. So we look forward to that. I think something will work out. We have a very good relationship, but that'll be a big one. We canceled the meeting with President Putin. It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get, so I canceled it. But we'll do it in the future. But next week we'll be with many of you in those locations that I told you. Then it's back to Washington. So thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you tell us a little bit about why you're elevating sanctions against Russia right now?
I just felt it was time. We've waited a long time. I thought that we'd go long before the Middle East. And Mark, as you know, we did the Middle East plus 7. So we did 7 different wars from Pakistan and India to so many.
Azerbaijan, Armenia.
Which they said was impossible to do. All these wars I did, and the one that we have left, we have 1 left. It'll be 9. And we have 1 left, and I think we'll get that done too. I think we're on our way to getting it done.
We have to.
Mr. President, do you have a timeline for when you think the story is going to be over because of your leadership?
No, I don't have a timeline. You can't have in war. It's hard to have a timeline. You know, so many things happen in war. Go ahead.
What about Tomahawk missiles? Putin is definitely
Well,
afraid
the problem with the Tomahawk that a lot of people don't know, it'll take a minimum of 6 months, usually a year, to learn how to use them. They're highly complex. So the only way a Tomahawk is going to be shot is if we shot it, and we're not going to do that. But there is a tremendous learning curve with the Tomahawk. It's a very powerful weapon, very accurate weapon, and maybe that's what makes it so complex. But it will take a year. It takes a year of intense training to learn how to use it. And we know how to use it, and we're not going to be teaching other people. It's too far out into the future.
Yes, Mr. President. I saw, Mr. President, that you said as recently as yesterday that you still believe that Putin wants to end the war.
Yeah,
and today
I do.
You took this step to ratchet the sanctions and put more pressure on him. What else are you going to do to encourage him to get there, or can you explain why you do believe that he wants peace?
Yeah, it's a good question. Today is a very big day in terms of what we're doing. Look, these are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their 2 big oil companies. And we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled. We just answered having to do with the various forms of missiles and everything else that we're looking at. But we don't think that's going to be necessary. We would like to see them just take the line that has been formed over quite a long period of time and go and let's go home. Last week they had almost 8,000 soldiers killed. Many Russians were killed last week. Many Ukrainians were killed last week. We think it's ridiculous and would like to have it end.
Why do you think you want peace, though? Why do you still believe that?
I think they want peace. I think they both want peace at this point. It's been, it's almost 4 years. You're going into 4 years. And if I were president, it never would have started. But yeah, it's time.
Mr. President, on the shutdown, do you plan to meet with Democrats before you head to Asia? And if not, why not meet with the Democrats?
Well, I think it's a shame that it's shut down because we have the greatest economy, as you were saying before. We have the greatest economy in the world right now, by far, the United States. We have almost 18, now it was 17, now it's $18 trillion being poured into our country. And it's no time for shutdowns. I don't think it's affecting what we're doing, but it's too bad for a lot of people. We have a lot of good people that aren't working right now that should be, and it's because the Democrats want to try and renegotiate a deal that they had negotiated. They want $1.5 trillion given to illegal immigrants who came into the country, and it's going to hurt the health care of citizens of our country that have been paying into it, that have been working hard for it, that really deserve it. So we're never going to do that. It's not going to happen. And I will tell you, there are a lot of good Democrats that really want to make a deal. And I think all we need is 5 Democrats because we have a great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats, and there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail. Go ahead, you can finish up.
On the drug boats, right, the Eastern Pacific,
yeah.
can you explain to us what that was about,
how it was conducted?
Yeah, sure. Well, they had one today in the Pacific. And the way I look at it every time I look, because it is violent, and it's amazing that the weaponry, that everyone, they have these boats that go 45, 50 miles an hour in the water. And when you look at the accuracy and the power, look, we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. And you see a little bit of it there. One shot, everyone dead center. And the only way you can't feel bad about it is you realize that you won't feel badly about it, is you realize that every time you see that happen, you're saving 25,000 American lives. Every one of those boats that gets knocked out is saving 25,000 American lives, not to mention the torn up families all over the country. And whenever I see that, I say to myself, I just saved 25,000 lives. I will say that there are very few boats traveling on the water right now. Actually, that includes fishing boats, that includes any other kind of boat. But there are very few boats traveling on the water. So now they'll come in by land to a lesser extent, and they will be hit on land also. Go ahead, in the back, please.
Do you have legal authority if they do come?
Yes, we do. We have legal authority, right? We're allowed to do that. And if we do by land, we may go back to Congress, but we have.
But we want to keep these people alive because it's bringing our lifeline in, Shady. We need the drug boats.
Gotta have them.
Gotta have them, don't we, CIA? Rogue.
Yeah, because if you don't have the material to land where it's supposed to land on the inner city, then the natives are going to be restless.
And I don't think people understand how China took over Hong Kong, right? Like, people don't understand that they used drugs to keep the population into a stupor, and they vote for stupid shit. You think that's happening here, Shady?
It's happening, yes.
Interesting.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year. These drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year. And that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this.
Real quick, Eddie Mike, 17. Everyone is so $17 Rumble rent. I dare you to match me 17, okay? 17, thank you, Eddie. So nobody did it. And Eddie says, okay, I'll match myself. Damn, tough crowd. Jeez. Tough crowd, guys. We do this every day for you. Eddie Mike, thank you for realizing that, we need you, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yes.
When you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them. We know the people coming in. We know the boats. We know everything else. We're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. It's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You don't need that to go fishing. Wait.
Except if you live in Florida. All these fishing boats, they have 3, 4, 5 motors. But they're actual fishermen.
We will hit them very hard when they come in by land.
Thank you, Mikey.
They haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that. We'll probably go back to Congress and explain exactly what we're doing when we come to the land. We don't have to do that, but I think, Marco, I'd like to do that. You may respond to that if you want.
Now, listen to Marco Rubio very carefully, okay? All you Democrats that are worried about boats being blown up, why don't you say this? Here we go. Marco?
Well, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States. Does it matter?
Pretty simple. Yes, it matters. It doesn't matter. Stop sending the damn boats. Do you guys not get that? That's pretty clear messaging, Shady.
No, man, we could get one more through. I'm sure we can.
G Brothers is in. Thank you for the $17 as well.
The best one is the submarine.
Oh, my God.
They're talking about, the submarine is a fishing vessel. Okay.
And Jennifer Tarloff on the 5 is all worried about drug smugglers.
Yeah, well, all of them are.
Wow.
Because like I said, you got to keep the coffer full.
Yeah. And by the way, Mike Hess's son is one of those fishermen with the 3 motors on the back.
if people in this country start to dry out and stop being inundated with drugs 24/7, they might start realizing that the government is corrupt and the Democrats don't do anything for them.
Oh, no, Shady.
There's so few of them waking up.
Truth Seeker 2, Truth Seeker 17, $17 Rumble rent. Eddie Mike matched. Where we go one, we go all. All right, here we go. He's going to talk about the submarine too.
In the United States. Well, these are all in international waters. The boat.
Do a strike in the United States, or if we're
Well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs. And they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We track them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them.
They do inventory, guys. They have CIA people embedded within the cartels actually doing inventory, knowing who did it, where it's going, what's going on, how much it's worth, everything, guys. Don't you understand that, Shady? You understand this.
It's a big thing that the media can't understand this. They're not going to understand this because they're part of the network to protect it. But the people could understand it. This audience understands it. You recognize that there's been a coup in Venezuela. You recognize that there's been control of the governments of Colombia and many other South American countries. And so we do have that intelligence. And if that intelligence was actually used for what it's supposed to be used for, you would have been seeing drug boats be blown up in the Caribbean for the last 40 years.
That's right. And this guy's asking a question. He's saying, well, what about on land? That's a police. And they want the law enforcement to get involved because they're bought off too. You guys have to understand, we're getting it before it becomes a problem with law enforcement to free them up to do regular policing duties, not traffic cocaine and drugs in your communities.
That's why it's a little bit disingenuous with people that are saying like, oh, we got to go arrest all of these people that, you see on TV every day. Well, that's not really the way it works. What you have to do is you have to arrest the people that are somehow helping them in their criminal, whatever their enterprise, their criminal enterprise. You got to get somebody to rat on them.
Yep. We got it. We've had it since the 70s, maybe even earlier. Here we go.
And if you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
And drug usage is way down. And drug usage coming from the sea, they call it ocean drugs, a little term that they use, the ocean drugs, is very close to non-existent right now. I wouldn't want to be in one of those boats heading away. They're driving happily to destroy the lives of people, and that's the end of them. So the ocean drugs and the sea drugs by sea, they call it also, that's almost down to nothing, as you can imagine. So they continue to come in by land at a little bit less because they see something is going to happen. They don't like it. They see something, and they're right. Something very serious is going to happen. The equivalent of what's happening by sea. And we're going to Congress just to tell them what we're doing, just to keep them informed. We have
Land of Hoya. Jeez, Rumble making it hard to meet. Eddie's match. $17. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
to do it for national security. We have to do it to save lives.
Secretary President said that Vladimir Putin had not been honest and forthright in his talks with you. Just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your feelings about that, and also my mate and Rutte, just your thoughts on whether Ukraine should get tomahawks. Thank you.
Well, I think that in terms of honesty, the only thing I can say is every time I speak with Vladimir, I have good conversations, and then they don't go anywhere. They just don't go anywhere. So in that sense, but no, look, he's fighting a war. He's in a war.
Real quick, Shiny Object 47. I raise you $30 to include gas money for Shady's trip to Portland.
Oh, no.
It's two very competent sides, and that's the way war is. You never know with war, but I would say that it's time to make a deal. A lot of people are dying. You know, they're not Americans, but they're people. They're souls. And they're dying by the thousands, worst since World War II, and we really should stop it.
And to your other question,
yes. Please.
Sorry, to your other question, this has been consistent from this president when we first met again after your re-election in Mar-a-Lago in November. You said we have to stop the killing. This is close to your heart, and this is your vision. That's why this war needs to end. When it comes to tomahawks or whatever system, it's up to individual nations to decide whatever they want to supply to Ukraine. NATO doesn't take a position, but I can assure you this. When the president called me in July and said we want to again send weapons into Ukraine, paid for by our allies, the Canadians and the Europeans. That was an important moment, and that is now taking place. And the ambassador, myself, we're working hard at this. Already a couple of $1 billion of weaponry into Ukraine from the US, paid for by allies. So I'm not going to comment on about the Tomahawks, but when it comes to the US and all the support for Ukraine, it is there and it is close to the president's heart, and I know this.
I will say this, and Mark can say it better than anybody. The European nations and Canada have really pulled together, and it's beyond even that. I mean, it's really beyond that.
I was with the Australians, the New Zealanders, Japan, they're all...
If you want to really add them up, we could really add them up, but NATO, basically, European and Canada, and a lot of other nations, they've really band together. They are not happy about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. They're not happy at all. Neither am I.
Mr. President.
Jeff?
Sir, just changing this topic slightly, I see you've got the model of the White House and the ballroom. Many people were surprised the entire East Wing is being demolished, because you had said initially that the ballroom would just touch or would not.
Well, certain areas
are
certain areas are being left. We determined that after really a tremendous amount of study with some of the best architects in the world, we determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section. The East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original. It was over the course of 100 years, it was changed. The columns were removed, and it was a much different building. Then a story was added on in 1948, 1949. There was a story added on, which was not particularly nice. And the building was very, very much changed from what it was originally. It was never thought of as being much. It was a very small building. And rather than allowing that to hurt a very expensive, beautiful building that, frankly, they've been after for years. You have that. I brought these along so people could see, but it's, there's a relative...
Good afternoon, everybody.
Nope.
All right.
Oh, wow. We're going to leave it for Levitt.
Let's get right to it.
We'll begin today with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's upcoming trip to Asia. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m., the president will depart the White House to fly to Malaysia, where he will arrive on Sunday morning local time. It's a long flight. President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia in the afternoon, and then he will attend the ASEAN Leaders Working Dinner that evening. On Monday morning local time, the president will fly to Tokyo. Tuesday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister of Japan. On Wednesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate in a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of Korea, deliver keynote remarks at the APEC CEO luncheon, and then participate in a U.S. APEC Leaders Working Dinner. On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C. On Thursday night, upon arrival in Washington, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will participate in Halloween at the White House, where they will welcome law enforcement, military, and foster families. And I know many of us look forward to that. In other news, we are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies. The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences. The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Democrats continue to hold Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals. During the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, the Democrats forced Border Patrol to admit illegal aliens into our country with no legal status and minimal screening. A significant number of these individuals are the worst of the worst criminals: rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and even members of the terrorist watch list. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens were able to file for work authorization, receive Social Security numbers, and access other benefits like Medicaid that are meant for Americans. Since I've found many in this room to repeatedly deny the reality that Democrats gave Medicaid benefits to illegals, and they continue to seek to do just that, I've brought a few verified examples for you today. These are examples of some of the illegals who received Medicaid benefits under President Biden's leadership, and this is what Democrats are wanting to do. This is why they are continuing to keep the government closed. An illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder, robbery, and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary. An illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder. The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and the Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote, "Every day gets better as the shutdown continues." Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not. House Democrat Catherine Clark said, "There are going to be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have." Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, "If you reopen the government, we lose our leverage." This is pure partisan games. A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, "short of planes falling out of the sky." That is truly a disturbing statement. The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. President and Republicans' position has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today. Here in our new media seat, we have Brittany Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A today? Thank you for being here.
Two questions, if I may, Caroline. First is, we understand that the president and Republicans will not negotiate on ACA extensions until the government reopens. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing rising healthcare costs for Americans?
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about healthcare.
And on H-1Bs and foreign students, during the campaign, President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple a green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes in the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first. And also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court. Garrett.
Questions on different topics.
Sure.
Indulge me. On the pardon of Changpeng Zhao, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name, Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond to the allegations from Democrats that this is a corrupt act?
I would respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House Counsel Office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual, and the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this overreach of the Biden administration's misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son and many of his associates.
On the ballroom, first of which will probably be several questions about this today, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way. The president's cost estimate has changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released.
How about you worry about the funding of the protests and not the funding of a free frickin' ballroom?
Well, it's the same 300 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you're talking like $300 million, guys. 300 million that they put in that's easy to see, that it's clear as day. We've got it all mapped out. You don't hear one single press person that is interested in why in the world would foreign billionaires be putting $300 million down to send out grandma and grandpa of the boomer generation to dance around like dummies in the middle of the street on a Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be more worried about that and the color revolution taking place in my country. I mean, this guy looks like a Nazi.
Well, he does. Well, he definitely has Nazi tendencies.
All right, here we go.
Full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president?
Yes, you will. And I would also just add the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room many times about. You have seen the model in the Oval Office. Last night he showed that for you. But when this plan was presented and when these renderings, as soon as they were complete, the president directed me to come out here and to share them with all of you. I did an entire opening remarks about what this ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds. Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
In that funding? Correct. Okay, and then can you say, well, that's right, I'll skip that one.
Thanks, Ouija.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Can he demolish this building or say the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president.
What an idiot.
Came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by
Take your house down too.
For many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently, their general counsel has said, when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean,
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And no, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. It looks a lot like what you were seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that
oversight?
rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Many of them are...
Shut up.
Immigration and another on Venezuela.
It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
And why aren't the people worried about Newsom's Capital California renovations? And it's $1.1 billion so far, and he's got it all torn up.
It's completely torn up from one side to the other. Not a single press photo about it in a mainstream media article. I put up the post yesterday that was showing it. Everybody's like, "Oh, no, nobody knows that that's going on."
Yeah. So Newscomb,
and also,
who do you think Newscomb represents? China? Do you know who Newscomb would represent?
China.
All right,
Did you see that video of the truck driver? By any chance, this most recent one?
Nope.
That she's referencing. I'm gonna send you the link to that, and we can show the audience. This one's the worst one. But yeah, go ahead.
Sounds good. Here we go.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022. Through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela, President Trump has said Maduro doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the way this administration has. And they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal narco-terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
The U.S. and Colombia relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible a de-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and I don't have anything to add to his comments. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly, and so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the president has always maintained that he would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary. And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and, frankly, both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late, he has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace. And so a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again, but we want to make sure that there's a tangible, positive outcome out of that meeting, and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy, as you all know. You're all tired from covering him and his movements every day, and so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time, and the president doesn't want to waste his time, and he said that.
All between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal.
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and President Putin will be a good use of his time.
What exactly led to President Trump not believing after his call on Thursday, where he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants this war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office, and he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war. Mary.
For example.
Two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch the current structure. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the people's house. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing would have to be demolished?
Look, again, with any construction...
All right, real quick. They're so worried about the East Wing, the East Wing, the East Wing, the East Wing. How about the money that went to the frickin' protesters? How about the illegal health care? How about real questions that affect you, the American people?
No. We don't want to know about Hans George Weiss with millions of dollars. We don't want to know about Warren Buffett and Patrick Byrne making deals to put 16 million. We don't want to know about any of the 501c4s.
No.
Those people are fine.
You know, we did the Arabella stuff 4 years ago, and that one Q person, it's a QD code, picked up on it. Amazing.
They ignored it. It's not that they didn't pick up on it.
Knowingly ignored it.
Because it outs their digital soldier network, Jeff. This is the point that so many people can't understand. The same way that, quote unquote, Arabella is funding No Kings, General Flynn is funding a network of digital soldiers that are acting like that they have media platforms. They don't have media platforms. What they have is a propaganda network associated with the military-industrial complex, Alex Jones, and the whole numbnut crew of Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens.
And if you notice, too, Roger Stone is going for the guy that needs to get out of the race to help Cuomo win. Do you notice that?
Interesting.
So does Stone want a communist mayor?
Just like Maggie Haberman? Just like the New York Times? Just like Comey?
Oh. All right, so you got to wrap it up. We're going to continue to play Caroline, but Shady, you got to wrap it up at 11 your time, 2 o'clock my time. Have a good half day.
Thank you so much. It's not a half day. I did my whole work. It's like 10:58. I did send you that video, so if you guys want to see the video of the truck driver, Jeff had it.
I'll play it after this. It's pretty... Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, dude, like the guy in the truck, it's a miracle he lived.
All right, Shady, you have a good one. We're going to go back to Caroline. We're going to leave it to Levitt.
I'm going to leave it to Ubit.
All right, later.
Project changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings, and if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. Instead, in fact, I said that in the briefing when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public.
But modernized and tearing down are two different things.
Well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, for it to be a truly strong and stable structure, this phase one that we're now in was necessary. And the president wants to do right by the people's house. And so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once it's complete.
And the First Lady's offices, where will those be? The First Lady's offices, the Social Secretary's office? In the East Wing. They will be back where they were.
Yes. Perfect.
raised some concerns about plans to import beef from Argentina. How will the Trump administration support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday himself. President loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. President loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, president wants to bring that down, is we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports. The president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long-term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the president has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement. Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession. Lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with Product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's a good incentive for the American consumer. And lastly, growing the domestic herd while boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems for the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. 2 questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just your response to that kind of rhetoric.
It's very jarring rhetoric, and I think it's very unacceptable. I hope the people of Texas will do the right thing and reject this person's candidacy. It should have no place in American politics.
And then just a quick second question on oversight Democrats that are saying that they're creating this master ICE tracker, basically tracking all ICE activity. We've seen the protests in New York just yesterday. Homeland Security is saying that this sounds like obstruction of justice. What do you say?
Again, this is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room, also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground in our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly, and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult job of enforcing our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spent a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day. As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that. Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions. One on San Francisco.
All right, so since that came up once again, let's go ahead and look at this video, guys. Wow, let's check it out. This is crazy. Here it is. This is what they're trying to fight the president on. Ready?
Exclusive dash cam video, which is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. It shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The CHP told the LA Times the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total of 4 semis were involved and also 4 passenger vehicles, one of them exploding in flames. 3 people were killed and 4 others were taken to local hospitals. This horrific crash happened just east of the 15 freeway and shut down all westbound lanes for more than 12 hours. Thousands of drivers were trapped in the gridlock just as the evening commute was getting underway. It's also near exclusive.
So we need to protect that, right, guys? Wow. All right. back to back to Caroline.
And one on the No Kings protesters. On San Francisco, the president said that he had a call with the mayor and he was planning on surging there, but now because the mayor really wants to fix it up himself, they're going to do that. Is this what Trump hopes happens in pretty much every city?
The president hopes, and I've said this so many times, and I think the president's conversation with the San Francisco mayor last night and his statement today prove the president is willing to work with anyone across the aisle, across the country, to do the right thing and clean up America's cities. He is genuinely interested in this effort to make our streets safer, to make our cities safe and clean again. And he heard from the mayor last night, who told him that he is going to earnestly try to make his city better on his own. The president heard him out. He said, okay, I'll give you a chance. We'll be watching, and if you need us, we are here. And if I feel as though you continue to fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in. But we'll continue to watch San Francisco, and that law enforcement operation has now been paused.
Thank you. And then on the No Kings protesters, I saw videos of people explicitly calling for violence against Stephen Miller, against the president, shirts saying we don't have enough assassins, calling for more political violence. Does the president want to see arrests here, and are we going to see arrests of these types of explicit calls to violence?
I would think myself, the president, and everyone here at the White House certainly hopes that anyone who is making violent and illegal threats in that way against public officials will be arrested and prosecuted.
Sure. Thank you. Two questions. Would the president support the Senate ending the legislative filibuster to end the shutdown?
This is something I haven't heard the president talk about much, so I don't want to speak on him for it. I'll let him answer that question himself.
Can you have an update on the NASA administrator nominee? Do you plan to nominate anyone soon? Or does the president nominate anyone soon?
I don't think so. Sorry. I'll leave that to the president himself. He'll make a decision in due time, and when he does, you will hear directly from him, as you always do. Back, we'll give our friends in the back a chance. Yes.
As you mentioned at the top of the briefing, USDA has warned that it will run out of funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if the shutdown continues. Senator Hawley is floating a bill that would ensure SNAP benefits are continued to pay during the shutdown. Would the president support such a move? And you also announced that the administration was using tariff revenue to keep WIC going during the shutdown. How long will that last? And is anything similar being considered for SNAP?
Yes, the administration would absolutely support that legislation. We hope that it would come over the finish line. But the bill that will get everyone paid and put everyone back to work is the clean continuing resolution. That's what the president and Republicans want to see. Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Caroline. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think this sanctioning these two Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned two other oil companies. So how much economic pressure is this really?
A lot. You read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure, and we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Could there be more? Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide. Sure.
Or heard the NBA gambling, involved in the gambling issue there. Does the president gamble? What does he think about that?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he does. I've been with him quite some time, and I have not seen him gamble before. I don't think he's a big gambler, but you can ask him yourself for next time you have a chance to, Ed. Go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn. I've got two
Hi,
quick
Jake,
questions.
and then we'll go to you. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Two quick questions. Back to the ballroom. It is a very spectacular ballroom, according to the renderings. And if it's half as nice as the one at Mar-a-Lago, then future presidents are really going to appreciate it.
They will. Thank you, Jake.
First of all, is there like an official name? Like, are we calling it the Trump Ballroom, or does the president have a vision for what the name for the ballroom is going to be?
There will be an official name. I will let the president announce that once he firmly decides on it.
Yeti, we think it's going to be the President Donald J. Trump Ballroom, correct? Yeti, are you there? Yeah. Yep.
Question is, looking at these renderings, and it kind of got me thinking, he's likely going to go down as the greatest builder of this era, and you've been in on a lot of those meetings with him. To your knowledge, has the subject of rebuilding the Holy Temple in Jerusalem come up?
It has not. No, it has not. I don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Caroline, on the CZ pardon, could this clear the way for Binance to resume U.S. operations?
I won't get ahead of that. That's something for Treasury or the Departments of Commerce to comment on, so you're welcome to ask them.
And then one follow-up question. Any more details on the president's Walter Reed visit? The readout from his doctor mentioned advanced imaging. What procedure was he referring to?
Advanced imaging is something that presidents receive and people receive when they go to the doctor. And so we provide a detailed readout of that physical, and I would encourage you back to that. Presidents and I don't know the exact imaging that took place, but as the physician's note said, the president is in incredibly good shape, and I think that's evidenced here every single day. Danny.
Back to the ballroom, I'm afraid. I just wanted to ask, because in July, the White House said that it would cost $200 million. Yesterday, the president said $300 million. Is $300 million now the operative figure, and why did it go up by so much?
$300 million.
Oh my God!
Is the figure. And again, it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. So we look forward to this project continuing, and we will continue to keep everyone apprised on it. Perhaps the president will even bring you all out to see it one day at the appropriate time. You're also going to hear from the president directly in about an hour. He's hosting an event with the Homeland Security Task Force. This was a newly created federal task force that the president and his law enforcement team have put together. I would encourage you all to tune in to the remarks. They have really done a tremendous job at refocusing how federal law enforcement and local law enforcement work together. There will be some local sheriffs and law enforcement officials in attendance as well, and they'll be talking about the success and the many arrests they have made of drug traffickers and cartel members all across the country by just simply working together. So we will see you at the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. I mean, my God, they're more worried about $300 million for a free ballroom for we the people rather than the $300 million given to the No Kings protest funded by foreign and domestic billionaires, guys. It's insane. It is totally insane. These people I don't think they really understand what this country is all about. And with that, guys, Yeti, thank you for the overtime. Shady, I hope you made your tea time. I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's the case, but hey, we work hard here on this show. Thank you very much for all your donations. We love you very much. God bless you all. See you tomorrow on Friday.
You always know. We always know which is the right way and which is the bad way. The bad way sometimes feels better, so we may choose that way and justify it by rationalization in order to make ourselves feel better about the bad that we did. Isn't that the way we all do things? Even if we do something wrong, we know we're doing something wrong, don't we attempt to rationalize it in our own mind and to our friends to justify what we're doing? So I believe it's a great fallacy to set out to brand those whom we disagree with as being evil people. The result of their actions we may perceive to be evil. We may perceive it to be bad, but I guarantee you those people don't see it that way. See, nobody gets up in the morning and sets out to do evil. Nobody consciously does that. I've never met any person in my entire life who said, I'm evil, I'm going to do evil things, I like to do evil things, I want to do evil things. They don't exist, in my knowledge. And when we present ourselves to them in that light, we're good and they're evil. Do you think we have a chance of getting them to listen to us? Not on your life. It's not going to happen. So I think we have to change the way we talk. We have to talk to them in a different manner. I've learned some things. And I think these things need to be passed on to you. And I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more? Or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about?
Think Mirror. www.mg.show. Boom.